The starship Odyssey glided silently through the dark stretch of space known as the Andromeda Expanse. Outside, distant stars twinkled like scattered diamonds, and the faint glow of a nebula painted the void in soft purple and gold. Captain Elias Rourke stood at the observation deck, staring out at the emptiness. He had traveled farther than any human had ever dared, carrying the hopes of Earth's first attempts at interstellar diplomacy. Humanity had made contact with alien civilizations before, but the Ayalari were unlike any other species. Their biology was fragile, their culture ancient, and their technology beyond most humans' comprehension. And now a message had arrived that made Elias's mission urgent. The Alari outpost, on a small, blue-green moon, had reported a mysterious illness sweeping through their population. The disease seemed natural to their world, but it was killing quickly, and no cure had been found. Most concerning of all was that the reports mentioned their Princess Lyra was among the critically ill. She was the heir to the Alari throne, a young woman known across her people for her wisdom and compassion. If she were to die, the balance of their society could collapse. Elias had been briefed on the details during the long flight. Scientists monitoring the Alari had found no solution. Their advanced medical technology could slow the illness for a short time, but it could not reverse the damage. The Alari's enzymes and immune systems were delicate, unlike human physiology, and their bodies could not withstand long-term stress. The princess, they said, was fading. Every day counted. As the ship descended toward the moon, Elias's thoughts wandered to what he might find. The Alari were beautiful creatures, almost ethereal, with translucent skin that shimmered faintly under light and eyes that seemed to glow with internal energy. They were intelligent and peaceful, but fragile. He felt a twinge of anxiety. Humanity had always believed itself to be resilient, adaptable, and strong, but this mission would test those qualities in ways no one could predict. The landing was smooth, and Elias, along with a small team of human scientists and medics, stepped out onto the moon's surface. The air was breathable, though it carried a faint sweetness, a scent entirely foreign. The outpost was a cluster of sleek, organic-shaped buildings, almost alive in their appearance, curving and flowing rather than rigidly structured. The medics led them quickly through the corridors to the central chamber, where Princess Lyra was lying on a translucent bed, her body glowing faintly blue. Her breathing was shallow, and her delicate hands twitched as if struggling to hold on to life itself. Elias stepped closer, feeling a wave of sympathy he had never experienced before. Lyra's features were sharp, yet delicate, her glowing skin fading in patches, a sign of how close she was to death. Around her, the Alari medics worked with desperation, adjusting machines that hummed softly, releasing bursts of energy meant to stabilize her. But every adjustment seemed to have only temporary effects. One of the lead Alari scientists turned to Elias, their expression serious. "Captain Rourke," they said, their voice melodic and soft, "our technology cannot sustain her for long. She will not last through the next cycle. We have tried every known method." But Elias looked down at the princess. He had trained for situations like this, but nothing in his experience compared to the weight of watching a life slip away before his eyes. He thought about the human body, about its resilience, and about something he had heard from the research before leaving Earth. There was a rare compatibility between human enzymes and certain alien proteins, almost a miracle, though untested. He swallowed hard. "What if there's another way?" he asked. "Careful. I read that human blood might interact with her physiology in ways no Ayalari treatment could. It's risky. My blood might not even be compatible, but it could save her." The scientists exchanged glances, fear and hope mingling in their expressions.
"It is
unprecedented," one said. "No human has ever been tested on an Alari in this way. The consequences are unknown."
"There is a chance of harming her further." Elias nodded. He had always known that being human came with risks, but it also came with courage and adaptability. If there was a chance, any chance, to save her, he had to take it. He reached down and gently took her fragile hand in his. Her eyes, dim with exhaustion, fluttered open. They met his with a faint glow, as if she sensed something. "Please," Elias said softly, "let me try." There was a long pause. Then, with a nod from the lead scientist, the medics prepared the procedure. The chamber filled with a quiet tension. A mixture of fear, hope, and the unknown. Elias felt his pulse quicken. He had no idea how her body would react, whether she would survive, whether he would survive, but he could not step back now. The blood exchange began. Elias watched closely as the medics facilitated the transfer, carefully monitoring her vitals. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, Lyra's faint glow began to strengthen, shifting from pale blue to a soft golden hue. Her breathing, once shallow, deepened, and the twitching in her hands ceased. Elias felt a strange sensation as well. A warmth spread through his body, a resonance he could not explain. The scientists' monitors beeped rapidly, recording data that made their screens light up in green and yellow streaks. Every measurement indicated something extraordinary. The human blood was not only compatible, but synergistic with Lyra's biology. This is impossible," one scientist whispered, awe in their voice. "It should not work this way." Elias ignored the awe, focusing on her. He could see her eyes opening fully now, their glow bright and steady. Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile, a gesture full of relief and gratitude. Elias felt a swelling sense of accomplishment, but also of wonder. Humans were fragile in many ways, but resilient in others. Adaptable in ways even the Alari could not have anticipated. The room was silent for a moment, as everyone watched the princess respond to the treatment. The transformation was subtle, but undeniable. Her skin, once fading, now glowed warmly. Her posture strengthened, her delicate frame no longer trembling. It was as if life itself had returned, fueled by something unexpected, something only a human could provide. Ayala stepped back slightly, allowing her space. Lyra's eyes met his, and in that moment, he saw recognition, understanding, and a bond forming that transcended words. Humans and Aelari were separated by biology and culture, yet here, life itself had bridged the gap. The lead scientist spoke again, their voice filled with awe. "Captain Rourke, you have done what no one thought possible. Her condition, it is improving beyond any known limits. Your blood, it is more than a cure. It is enhancement." Elias felt a mixture of pride and humility. He had not acted out of desire for recognition, but out of the simple human instinct to help another life. He realized that this was what made humanity remarkable, not just strength or technology, but courage, compassion, and the willingness to act in the face of the unknown. As the hours passed, Lyra's recovery continued. The room gradually filled with light and warmth as her glow strengthened. Elias remained by her side, watching and learning, fascinated by the way her body responded. The medics adjusted their instruments carefully, but it seemed that the human blood had unlocked something within her physiology that no machine could replicate. Outside the chamber, the other Aelari observed in quiet reverence. They had known humans were resilient, but this was beyond anything they had imagined. A single act of courage and selflessness had changed the course of a life, and perhaps the course of their society. Elias looked out through the observation window at the stars, thinking about what had just occurred. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, not the most technologically advanced, but in moments like this, when life hung by the thinnest thread, humanity had something rare, the ability to take risks, to adapt, and to bring hope where none existed. For Princess Lyra, the gift of life was more than survival. It was a chance to experience the world anew, to feel strength and vitality she had never known. For Elias, it was a reminder that sometimes the greatest power in the universe was the simple act of giving even when the outcome was uncertain. As night fell on the outpost, the two sat in quiet companionship, watching the stars. The first step had been taken, a bridge formed between human and alien, life and hope. Neither knew exactly what the future held, but both understood that this moment, born from courage and compassion, would not be forgotten. Humanity had left its mark, not with weapons, not with machines, but with something far more powerful: the willingness to save a life when all odds were against them. And for the first time in days, the chamber felt at peace, filled with the soft glow of recovery and the silent promise of what could be achieved when courage met opportunity. Days passed since the blood transfer, and Princess Lyra's recovery continued at a pace that astonished everyone. The faint golden glow that had first appeared in her skin now shone steadily, and her strength returned faster than the medics could have predicted. She walked the chamber with grace, testing her legs, her movements smoother and more confident than any Alari had ever displayed in recent memory. Captain Elias Rourke watched her quietly, a mixture of pride and amazement filling him. He had only hoped to stabilize her, to give her a chance to live. What was happening now was far beyond that. The scientists still monitored her closely. Every scan, every measurement revealed something new. Lyra's vital signs were remarkably stable. Her immune system had not only recovered but strengthened. The Alari enzymes in her blood had interacted with the human enzymes in ways that created a resilience never seen in her species before. The medics whispered among themselves, clearly torn between excitement and worry. They had never studied a human-alien hybrid interaction, and yet here it was, happening naturally and successfully. Lyra herself noticed the changes immediately. She could feel energy flowing through her body, a sharp contrast to the exhaustion that had gripped her before. Her senses felt heightened. She could hear faint movements in the corridors, feel the subtle vibrations of the floor beneath her feet, and even sense the presence of others before they entered her line of sight. She looked at Elias one morning, her glowing eyes reflecting the soft light of the chamber, and she said, "I feel different, stronger, alive in a way I have never been." Elias smiled, though he felt a pang of responsibility. "You are alive because we took a risk," he said softly. "Your body responded in a way no one expected. That's the power of life and of hope." Lyra studied him, curiosity and wonder shining in her eyes. "Hope?" she asked. "Humans survive because we never give up," Elias explained. "We face dangers that others avoid. We try things that seem impossible. And sometimes we succeed because we are willing to act when no one else will." She considered his words, then nodded. "I understand. You have given me more than life. You have shown me strength I could not have imagined." Outside the chamber, the Alari population watched the events unfold. Word of the princess's recovery spread quickly, sparking both amazement and anxiety. Many were overjoyed that their heir had survived, but some worried about the long-term effects of the blood transfer. Could this make her different from the rest of their kind? Would it change her personality or abilities permanently? Debate raged quietly among the council members and scientists. Elias understood their concerns. Change was often frightening, even when it was beneficial, but he had learned that humanity thrived in uncertainty. Risk and adaptability were part of their survival. He had acted instinctively, without hesitation, and it had worked. Perhaps the Alari could learn something from that as well. Lyra began testing her new strength with cautious experiments. She lifted objects far heavier than she had ever handled before, and moved with speed and precision that left even the most skilled Alari observers impressed. She could focus her energy in ways that allowed her to heal small wounds in herself and others, a talent previously unknown among her people. Every day brought new discoveries, and every discovery brought both wonder and questions. One evening, Elias and Lyra walked together on the observation platform overlooking the moon's surface. The sky was painted with the soft colors of the setting sun, and the stars began to appear, twinkling like distant fireflies. Lyra moved with a confidence she had never known before, and Elias could see that she was beginning to embrace her new capabilities. "You feel the change too, don't you?" she asked, her eyes reflecting the fading light.
"Yes," Elias admitted. "I feel something too."
"The blood transfer. It affected me as well. Not as dramatically as you, but I feel a connection. It's hard to explain, but it's there." Lyra's glow brightened slightly, as if acknowledging the bond between them. "It is strange," she said. "Two species, so different, yet linked through something so simple as blood." "Simple," Elias said with a faint smile, "but powerful." The bond between them grew stronger in the days that followed. They spent hours talking, learning about each other's cultures, sharing stories of life on Earth and on the Aelari homeworld. Elias told her about humanity's struggles and triumphs, about the small acts of courage that had allowed humans to survive and thrive. Lyra shared stories of her people's history, their art, their songs, and the delicate balance of their society. Through these conversations, Elias realized that the greatest strength of humans was not technology or weapons. It was their ability to connect, to understand, and to act for the benefit of others. Lyra, in turn, began to see humanity in a new light, where her people had seen humans as unpredictable and reckless. She now recognized them as adaptable, courageous, and capable of incredible selflessness. Not all reactions were positive. Some council members continued to voice concerns about the risks involved in the blood transfer. They feared that Lyra's abilities could make her a target for other species or destabilize their society. Yet others argued that this was an opportunity. Humans had demonstrated that life could adapt and survive in ways the Aelari could not have imagined. Perhaps it was time to embrace the unexpected, to learn from those who were different. Then came the first true test. A faint tremor ran through the outpost one morning and alarms began to sound. Sensors detected movement in the surrounding space. An unknown vessel approaching at high speed. The crew rushed to the command center, trying to identify the ship. It belonged to a neighboring alien faction, one known for aggression and territorial disputes. They had learned of the princess's recovery and her newfound abilities, and they saw it as a threat or an opportunity to exploit. Elias immediately understood the danger. The humans and Aelari together were still outnumbered and outgunned. But he also knew that retreat was not an option. He turned to Lyra, who stood beside him, her glowing form a beacon of resilience. "Princess," he said, "we have a problem. They are coming for you. For this outpost. We must prepare to defend ourselves." Lyra nodded, her expression calm but determined.
"I will help," she said. "If my new strength can protect my people, I will use it."
"We will face them together." Over the next few hours, the outpost transformed into a defensive stronghold. Elias and the human crew worked quickly to integrate human technology with Aari systems. They fortified entrances, calibrated energy shields, and positioned personnel strategically. The Aelari medics and engineers, guided by Elias's knowledge, learned to use human methods to maximize their efficiency. Lyra took part as well. She tested her strength in controlled drills, moving swiftly through corridors, lifting heavy barriers, and assisting in repairs. Her energy seemed limitless, and her presence boosted the morale of everyone around her. For the first time in generations, the Aelari felt a renewed sense of hope. Humans had arrived not as conquerors, but as allies. Capable, resourceful, and willing to fight for life. When the attacking vessel finally arrived, the tension was palpable. Lights flickered as sensors locked on the enemy craft. The humans and Aelari held their positions, hearts pounding, waiting for the first move. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the familiar mix of fear and determination that always came before a battle. Then the attack began. Energy pulses struck the outpost's shields, causing vibrations to run through the corridors. Alarms blared, and the entire station seemed alive with activity. Yet the humans adapted quickly, using ingenuity to redirect power, repair breaches, and outmaneuver the enemy's tactics. The Alari, inspired by Lyra's presence and Elias's leadership, responded with precision, creating a synergy that their attackers had not anticipated. Amid the chaos, Lyra moved with extraordinary speed, her glowing form a blur as she neutralized threats and protected her people. Elias watched her in awe, realizing that the blood transfer had not only saved her life but had also given her the ability to inspire and protect in ways no human or Aolari could have imagined. By the end of the first wave, the attackers had been repelled, though the outpost had sustained damage. Repairs began immediately, but the victory was undeniable. Humanity's resilience, courage, and adaptability had turned the tide. The Alari, witnessing this display, began to see humans not as fragile outsiders, but as powerful allies whose strength was measured not only in technology but in spirit and action. As the dust settled, Elias and Lyra stood together on the observation deck once more. The stars twinkled above, serene and indifferent to the battles below. Yet their light felt warmer now, brighter. Lyra turned to him, her golden glow steady and strong. "Captain Rourke," she said, her voice firm, "you have given me life and strength. You have also shown my people what humans can do when they act with courage." "I will not forget this," Elias smiled, feeling the weight of the journey they had already begun. "Neither will I," he replied. "This is only the beginning. Humanity has a role to play in this galaxy, and perhaps it is to show others that life is worth protecting, no matter the odds." Together they watched the stars, a silent promise, passing between them. Humanity had arrived in a small corner of the universe, but their impact was already undeniable. Where fear and uncertainty had existed, hope now burned brightly, and somewhere deep inside, Elias knew that this bond, this act of courage and compassion, would change not only Lyra's life, but the future of the Andromeda expanse itself. The attack on the outpost had left scars, both physical and emotional. Walls were scorched, corridors were littered with debris, and the hum of energy systems felt strained. Yet amid the damage, the Aolari and human crews worked tirelessly to repair their home. Every day brought small victories, an instrument fixed, a shield recalibrated, a breach sealed, but also constant reminders that the threat was far from over. Captain Elias Rourke moved through the corridors with quiet determination. He checked on the medics, the engineers, and the soldiers, offering guidance when needed and encouragement when possible. He could feel the eyes of the Aolari on him, a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. Humanity had shown them strength, but now they wanted to understand it. Elias knew that perception could shift quickly. Hope could turn to fear if not handled carefully. Princess Lyra, meanwhile, was not idle. Her body had fully recovered from the illness, and her strength continued to grow. She could lift objects several times heavier than she ever could before, and move with a speed that rivaled the fastest Alari warriors. More than physical strength, she had gained control over subtle biological energy within herself, a talent that allowed her to heal small injuries and sense approaching threats. The Council of Elders watched her closely. Some saw promise, believing that Lyra's abilities could help protect their people and even expand their knowledge of the galaxy. Others were wary. Could a human-alien hybrid of sorts disrupt the natural order of their society? Could it make the princess unpredictable, or worse, a target for enemies? Debate was constant, and tension simmered beneath polite conversations. Elias understood their concern. Humans, while adaptable, were unpredictable to those who had not observed them closely, but he also knew that courage and ingenuity often require taking risks. He had seen Lyra's abilities firsthand, and he knew that they could be a force for protection, for discovery, and for peace. It was during one quiet morning, while scanning the surrounding space, that the next challenge revealed itself. Sensors detected a vessel moving at high speed, unlike any craft the outpost had encountered. The readings were aggressive, the trajectory precise, and the intent unmistakable. The attackers had returned. But this time, They were larger in number, and their technology had been upgraded. Elias gathered the human and Aelari leaders in the command center. "They've learned from the last encounter," he said, his tone calm but serious. "They know we survived, and they're coming back stronger. We need to prepare differently this time." The Aelari medics and engineers worked alongside humans to upgrade shields, reinforce walls, and develop strategies for defense. Humans taught them to use improvisation as a weapon, turning limited resources into powerful solutions. An energy generator, for example, was repurposed to create a temporary barrier that could absorb multiple blasts. Corridors were rigged with motion sensors, allowing defenders to anticipate intrusions. The aliens had never seen their technology used in this way, and many marveled at human ingenuity. Lyra trained alongside them, practicing with agility and focus. She could sense approaching ships long before sensors detected them, and she could move through the outpost with unmatched precision, neutralizing hazards before they became threats. Her presence inspired confidence among both humans and Aelari. Where fear had lingered, courage now took root. The day of the attack arrived. The first wave of enemy ships emerged from the darkness of space, sleek and deadly, firing energy pulses at the outpost's defenses. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and the corridors vibrated with the hum of energy. Yet the humans and Aelari responded swiftly, using a combination of strategy, technology, and adaptability that the attackers had not expected. Elias coordinated the defense, moving from station to station, directing the combined efforts of the crew. He had anticipated many outcomes, but the attackers were unpredictable, using unconventional tactics that required quick thinking. He adapted, improvising with both human and alien systems to counter each move. Lyra moved like a force of nature. Her body glowed softly, energy radiating from her as she lifted debris to block corridors, redirected energy surges to stabilize the shields, and even protected civilians caught in crossfire. She had become more than a princess. She was a symbol of resilience, of hope, and of the unexpected power that life could bring. Despite their preparation, the enemy forces were relentless. A wave of boarding drones breached the outer perimeter, moving swiftly through corridors, attempting to disable systems and capture Lyra. Elias and the human soldiers engaged them, using tactics that combined Earth's military ingenuity with Aelari technology. The drones were formidable, but the defenders were relentless. Every failure was met with adaptation, every surprise with a solution. In the chaos, Elias caught sight of a group of drones approaching Lyra from behind. He acted without hesitation, rushing to intercept. Yet before he could reach her, Lyra extended her hand, a pulse of energy radiating outward. Then he got the drones were lifted and disabled, their circuits fried in a flash of golden light. Elias stared in awe. The blood transfer had not just healed her, it had amplified her natural abilities, making her a protector in ways no one could have predicted. The battle continued for hours. Humans and Aelari worked as one, a combination of courage, intellect, and adaptability overcoming raw power. The attackers were forced to retreat after suffering significant losses, their fleet scattering into the depths of space. The outpost had sustained damage, but it stood, resilient and intact. When the battle ended, the silence was heavy, but not empty. Humans and Aelari alike took time to assess the damage, repair systems, and care for the injured. Elias and Lyra stood together once more, observing the stars. The enemy had tested them, but humanity's ingenuity and adaptability had turned the tide. Lyra turned to Elias, her glowing form steady and strong. "You were right," she said softly. "Humans are different. You adapt, you take risks, and you fight when others might give up. You have shown my people what courage truly is." Elias nodded. "And you have shown them that strength can come in unexpected forms. Life is powerful when nurtured, and hope is strongest when it is shared." In the days that followed, the Aelari began to accept humans in a new way. Where there had been doubt, there was now respect. Where there had been fear, there was hope. Lyra's abilities continued to grow, but more importantly, her people began to understand that humans were not just visitors. They were allies, capable of teaching, protecting, and inspiring. Yet even as the outpost recovered, Elias knew the galaxy was vast and filled with unknown challenges. The enemy's return had been a warning, and he understood that future threats could be even greater. But he also knew that humanity had something unique: the ability to face uncertainty, adapt, and overcome. It was not technology alone that gave humans strength. It was courage, creativity, and the refusal to surrender when the odds seemed impossible. Lyra spent her time learning from Elias and the human crew. She observed their strategies, their methods, and their thought processes. She asked questions, practiced tactics, and even experimented with her abilities under controlled conditions. The bond between her and Elias grew stronger, built on trust, shared experiences, and the understanding that both species could learn from each other. One evening, after repairs had been completed, Elias and Lyra walked together on the observation deck. The moon's surface was quiet, bathed in the soft light of distant stars. The outpost below was alive with activity, a testament to resilience and cooperation. Lyra's glow was calm but powerful, a symbol of life renewed and strengthened. "You have changed my world," Lyra said softly, looking up at Elias.
"Not just me, but everyone here. My people will never see humans the same way again."
Elias smiled. "And humanity will never forget this experience. We came here to help, and we found something more. We found a bond, a reason to keep pushing forward, even when the unknown seems frightening." As they stood in silence, the stars above seemed to shine brighter, as if reflecting the courage and determination of those below. Humanity had faced the unknown and prevailed, not through sheer force, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and the willingness to act when others might hesitate. The outpost was safe for now, but Elias knew the galaxy was far from peaceful. The attackers would return, and new threats would arise. Yet he also knew that humans had something that no enemy could easily overcome: the ability to rise to challenges, to adapt, and to inspire hope in those around them. Lyra placed her hand gently on Elias's shoulder. "We will face whatever comes next," she said. "Together." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of the promise and the strength of their alliance. Humans and Aelari, bound by trust, courage, and the shared goal of survival, were stronger together. And as the stars stretched endlessly above, he realized that this was only the beginning. Humanity's presence in the Andromeda expanse was no longer a question. It was a force, a spark of hope that could change the course of the galaxy itself. The days after the attack were quieter, but the tension in the air was far from gone. The outpost hummed with repair work, training drills, and constant vigilance. Every human in Aelari moved with purpose, knowing that the galaxy was unpredictable and that threats could arrive at any moment. For Elias Rourke, the quiet moments were the hardest. He had learned that in space, calm often meant preparation for storms that had not yet arrived. Princess Lyra spent much of her time walking through the corridors, speaking with medics, engineers, and soldiers alike. Her presence was now both inspiring and reassuring. Where humans brought ingenuity, she brought confidence and courage. Her abilities had grown steadily. She could heal injuries far faster than Aelari medics could manage with their equipment, and her senses could detect subtle changes in energy and life forms. She had become not only a protector, but a guide, a bridge between humans and Aelari. Yet her growth caused questions among the Aelari Council. Some elders were excited, seeing the potential to strengthen their species through alliance with humans. Others worried that Lyra's abilities might create imbalance, making her too powerful or unpredictable. Elias could sense the tension, and he understood it. Humans thrived in unpredictability, but not all species did. What was normal and safe for humanity could feel dangerous to others. One morning, as Elias monitored sensor readings, an urgent alert sounded, A small reconnaissance vessel had entered the system, cloaked until the last moment. Its presence was deliberate. It was not a random exploration. The humans and Aelari prepared for a potential confrontation. Unlike the previous attack, this was a measured approach, suggesting intelligence and strategy behind the movement. Lyra joined Elias in the command center, her golden glow steady and calm. "They are cautious this time," she said. "Not reckless like before. This is not just a simple attack. They are testing us." Elias nodded. "We need to respond carefully. Force alone will not work. We need strategy, and we need to be ready for the unexpected." Together, they formulated a plan. Humans would use technology and improvisation. Aelari would utilize their environmental knowledge and energy-based abilities, and Lyra would serve as a central coordinator, moving quickly to where she was most needed. The combination of their strengths created a defensive network that was adaptable, resilient, and efficient. When the vessel made its move, the outpost was ready. Energy pulses met shields, sensors tracked the enemy's maneuvers, and humans improvised in real time to counter unexpected tactics. Lyra moved through the corridors like a force of nature, neutralizing threats, repairing vital systems, and guiding personnel to safety. Her golden glow illuminated the path she took, a living beacon in the chaos. The enemy's vessel was no ordinary craft. It emitted energy fields that disrupted standard Aelari systems and forced humans to adapt quickly. Elias oversaw the coordination, combining human improvisation with Aelari technology. Shields were rerouted, weapons recalibrated, and energy flows redirected to create new defensive patterns. Every move required precise timing, intelligence, and courage. Amid the conflict, Lyra displayed abilities that had never been documented. She could sense enemy energy patterns before they moved, anticipate threats, and respond with speed and precision. She lifted barriers, redirected energy surges, and even neutralized enemy drones with a wave of energy from her hands. The combined human-Elaria defense overwhelmed the attackers, who had expected a slower, weaker response. After hours of intense engagement, the enemy retreated. Damage to the outpost was minimal thanks to quick repairs and adaptive strategies. The human crew and Aelari medics worked tirelessly to stabilize systems and treat minor injuries. For the first time, the outpost experienced a sense of victory, not born of raw force, but of intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. In the aftermath, the Aelari Council called a meeting. For the first time, humans were included as active participants in strategic discussions. They were no longer outsiders. They were collaborators, valued for their ingenuity and courage. Elias spoke, explaining human principles of adaptability, improvisation, and action in the face of uncertainty. He emphasized that strength was not measured by raw power alone, but by the ability to survive, learn, and inspire others to do the same. Lyra added her voice, glowing softly as she spoke to her people. Humans have shown us that courage and intelligence together can overcome even the greatest challenges. I have felt their strength not just in battle, but in the willingness to act when hope seemed lost. This is a lesson for all of us. Some elders nodded slowly, absorbing her words. Others remained cautious, unsure if humanity's methods could be trusted fully. But a subtle shift had occurred. The bond between humans and Aelari had strengthened beyond diplomacy. It was now mutual respect, built on shared trials and victories. The quiet moments following the battle allowed reflection. Elias walked with Lyra along the observation deck, looking out over the moon's surface. The stars shone clearly above, and the repaired outpost hummed with life below.
"Do you understand now?"
Elias asked.
"Why humans act the way we do?"
"We adapt. We take risks, and we fight for life, even when it seems impossible." Lyra nodded. "I understand. And I see why your species can survive, even thrive, where others might fail. You act, and that action becomes your power. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft vibration in the observation deck floor. Sensors indicated a faint energy signature approaching the outpost, but not hostile. The readings were subtle, almost delicate. Curious, Elias directed the team to investigate. They discovered a small vessel, sleek and unobtrusive, carrying an emissary from a distant alliance. The visitor introduced themselves as a scout from a neutral species observing the Andromeda expanse. They had heard of the recent events, the princess's recovery, humanity's involvement, and the outpost's resilience. They sought to understand the situation, offering dialogue and potential collaboration. This marked a turning point. Humanity's presence, combined with Lyra's extraordinary abilities, had drawn attention across the galaxy. The blood transfer, once a desperate act of compassion, had become a symbol of possibility, proof that life, cooperation, and courage could surpass expectations. Elias, Lyra, and the emissary discussed potential alliances, sharing knowledge of technology, strategy, and biology. The humans demonstrated methods of adaptation that could complement alien systems, while Lyra offered insights into her enhanced abilities and her people's unique energy manipulations. Together, they brainstormed ways to prepare for future threats, balancing caution with opportunity. Yet amidst the excitement, Elias reminded everyone that vigilance was crucial. The galaxy was vast, and not all species shared the same values. Some might seek to exploit Lyra's abilities, or humanity's presence, for their own gain. But with preparation, intelligence, and cooperation, threats could be met and overcome. Lyra, glowing softly beside Elias, reflected on how far she had come. The illness that once drained her life was now a distant memory, replaced by strength, vitality, and purpose. She had become a symbol not just for her people, but for the potential that emerged when humans and aliens worked together. She understood that her life was intertwined with Elias and humanity, not just biologically, but in spirit and shared responsibility. Over the next weeks, the outpost began to flourish. Repairs were completed, defensive systems were improved, and the humans and Alarai worked together seamlessly. Training exercises incorporated human ingenuity with Alari precision, creating a cooperative network capable of rapid adaptation. Civilians felt safer, inspired by the resilience of those protecting them. One evening, Elias and Lyra sat together on the observation deck, watching the stars stretch endlessly across the sky. "We have changed things here," Lyra said softly. "The galaxy is beginning to see that strength is not just about power, but about courage, intelligence, and the will to act." Elias nodded, "And this is only the beginning. Humans can teach, inspire, and protect. We are adaptable, but also willing to risk ourselves for others. That is what makes us unique." "That is what can make a difference in the galaxy." Lyra reached out, placing her hand gently on his. "Then we will continue together," she said, "human and Aolari, working side by side. We will face whatever comes, and we will endure." Elias smiled, feeling the weight of their shared responsibility and the hope of what was yet to come. He knew that the galaxy held many challenges, but he also knew that humanity's courage and adaptability were tools unlike any other. The bond formed through a simple act of compassion, the blood transfer, had become something far greater, a bridge between species, a symbol of resilience, and a spark of hope that could change the course of countless lives. As night settled across the moon, the outpost glowed softly, a testament to life, courage, and cooperation. Humans and Aolari moved through the halls, preparing for the future, learning from each other, and building strength not through force alone, but through ingenuity, understanding, and the willingness to act. And in the quiet moments, Elias realized that the story of the princess, of humanity's courage, and of the bond they had formed would be remembered for generations. It was proof that, even in a vast, dangerous galaxy, life could flourish when hearts were brave, minds were open, and cooperation overcame fear. The stars above seemed brighter that night, reflecting the light within the outpost. Humanity had shown its power not through conquest or domination, but through resilience, creativity, and the simple undeniable truth that life, any life, was worth fighting for. Lyra turned to Elias one last time before retiring for the evening. "We have achieved much," she said, her glow softening. "But I feel there is more to come. Something greater awaits." Elias nodded. "Then we will meet it together. Humanity has always faced the unknown, and we always find a way forward. This is our nature." Together they looked out into the endless expanse of stars, knowing that their journey was far from over. The bond between human and Aelari had grown stronger than anyone could have imagined, and with courage, intelligence, and the will to act, they were ready for whatever the galaxy would send next. The galaxy beyond the Andromeda expanse was quiet for a time, but Elias Rourke knew it was only temporary. Humanity's actions, and Princess Lyra's transformation, had begun to ripple across neighboring star systems. Rumors of the golden glowing princess, healed and strengthened by the courage of a human, spread like wildfire. Some saw it as a miracle, others as a threat, and a few sought to exploit it. The peace they had enjoyed was fragile, and Elias understood that preparation was not enough. They had to be ready to face anything. Lyra had grown into her role as leader, her abilities no longer a secret even among her own people. Her golden glow now radiated with a calm authority, her energy controlled and precise. She had trained extensively under Elias's guidance and with the combined human-Alara teams. She could sense approaching threats, heal injuries faster than any medic, and inspire her people in ways that went far beyond words. But with each day of growth, the weight of expectation pressed heavier. The galaxy was watching, and she knew they would expect extraordinary results. One morning, a fleet appeared on the edge of the system. They were larger, more organized, and more determined than any force they had faced before. The enemy had learned from past failures, and now they sought not just to challenge the outpost, but to capture Lyra and exploit her unique abilities. Their ships moved with precision, and their energy pulses were stronger than the last encounter. The calm before the storm had ended. Elias immediately convened the command team. Humans and Aelari together plotted their defense. The outpost would hold. But more than survival was at stake. They needed to show the galaxy that unity and courage could overcome even overwhelming odds. Humans devised strategies that relied on adaptability, deception, and rapid response, while the Aelari contributed their knowledge of energy manipulation and environmental advantage. Lyra, glowing steadily, became the center of the plan, coordinating defenses, inspiring her people, and ready to act wherever she was needed most. When the battle began, it was unlike anything the outpost had ever faced. Enemy energy pulses struck the shields, testing every system to its limit. The corridors shook as personnel moved quickly to repair breaches and assist injured allies. Humans improvised in real time, rerouting power, creating makeshift barriers, and using alien technology in ways the Aelari had never imagined. Every failure was met with immediate correction, every surprise with ingenuity. Lyra moved through the chaos with grace and precision. Her senses detected threats before the sensors. Her energy manipulation neutralized incoming attacks, and her presence inspired courage in those around her. She lifted massive debris to block corridors, redirected energy surges to stabilize shields, and healed the injured with a speed and skill unmatched by any medic. Humans and Aelari worked together seamlessly, each complementing the other's abilities. The enemy, expecting a simple outpost, was stunned by the coordinated defense. Their ships were repelled by energy barriers enhanced by human improvisation, while Lyra's abilities disrupted their drones and weakened their attacks. Each wave of the enemy fleet was met with clever tactics and unyielding determination. Elias watched from the command center, coordinating defenses, but also marveling at the way humans and Aelari had merged into a single adaptive force. Amid the chaos, Elias realized that Lyra had become more than a princess. She was a symbol of what could happen when life was protected, nurtured, and strengthened. Her abilities had grown beyond anyone's expectations, yet she remained compassionate and wise, using her powers not for dominance, but for protection and guidance. After hours of intense combat, the enemy was forced to retreat, their fleet scattered, damaged, and demoralized. The outpost had sustained damage, but it stood resilient. The victory was not just in survival. It was in proving that courage, intelligence, and cooperation could overcome even the greatest threats. In the aftermath, the Aelari Council convened to recognize what had occurred. Humans were no longer merely visitors. They were allies whose presence had transformed the course of the battle. Lyra spoke to her people, her golden glow illuminating the chamber. Humans have shown us that life is stronger than we imagined, that courage and intelligence together can protect what we hold dear. Their actions have not only saved me, but have strengthened our future. Some elders remained cautious, worried about dependency on human aid, but many acknowledged that humanity had demonstrated qualities that could not be ignored. The outpost, once fragile and uncertain, now stood as a testament to resilience, adaptability, and hope. Elias and Lyra spent the following days strengthening diplomatic relations. They reached out to neighboring species, sharing stories of cooperation, mutual protection, and the possibilities of interspecies alliances. The blood transfer, once a desperate gamble, had become a symbol, a proof that life could be enhanced and preserved through courage, compassion, and collaboration. Lyra continued to train and grow. Her abilities had become extraordinary. She could sense danger from light years away, heal injuries almost instantly, and even manipulate environmental energy to protect entire sectors of the outpost. Yet she remained humble, understanding that her strength was amplified by the humans around her. Elias's presence, guidance, and willingness to act without hesitation had played a critical role in shaping her potential. One evening, as the twin moons of the planet rose above the horizon, Lyra and Elias stood on the observation deck. Below them, the outpost buzzed with life, a vibrant mixture of humans and Aelari working together in harmony. The stars stretched endlessly, a reminder of the vast unknown that lay beyond. "We have changed things," Lyra said softly, her glow warm and steady. "The galaxy now sees that strength is not just power, but courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act. Humans have shown us that life can adapt, survive, and thrive where others might fail." Elias nodded. "And this is only the beginning. Humanity will continue to act, to adapt, and to inspire. We face challenges not by avoiding them, but by confronting them. That is our nature." Lyra placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "Then we will face what comes together, human and Aelari, side by side. Our bond is more than blood. It is trust, courage, and hope." As the moons rose higher, Elias reflected on the journey. Humanity had arrived in the Andromeda expanse as outsiders, underestimated and fragile. Yet through courage, ingenuity, and compassion, they had forged alliances, protected life, and left a mark that would be remembered across star systems. Months passed, and the outpost grew into a hub of cooperation. Humans shared knowledge, Aelari shared wisdom, and together they prepared for the unpredictable galaxy. Lyra's leadership became legendary, her abilities a symbol of what could happen when different species worked together for life, not dominance. Elias looked on one evening as Lyra demonstrated her powers to a gathering of allied species. She healed injured personnel, stabilized energy fields, and coordinated protective measures, all with calm authority and grace. The observers, representing dozens of civilizations, were awed. They had heard tales, but seeing it in action made it real. Humanity's influence, combined with Lyra's growth, was a demonstration of the potential that cooperation and courage could unlock. Lyra turned to Elias and smiled, a rare moment of quiet pride. "We have achieved much," she said, "but there is more to do. The galaxy is vast, and life is precious. We must continue to protect, inspire, and act when hope seems distant." Elias returned her smile. "That is what humanity does. We do not wait for perfect conditions. We act, we adapt, and we face the unknown with courage. That is how we survive, how we thrive, and how we leave a legacy." The galaxy seemed to respond, stars twinkling with a distant brilliance, as if acknowledging their efforts. The outpost, once fragile, now shone as a beacon of hope, resilience, and cooperation. Humans and Aolari had learned from each other, strengthened each other, and proven that life, when protected and nurtured, could overcome even the most impossible odds. As Elias gazed at the stars, he thought of the moment he had offered his blood to Princess Lyra. A single act, born of courage and compassion, had sparked a chain of events that reshaped not just one life, but an entire society. Humanity, often underestimated, had become a force of hope and inspiration across the galaxy, not through conquest, not through weapons, but through courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. Lyra's glow brightened slightly as she joined him on the deck. "We will continue forward," she said softly. "Not just for my people, but for all life that values courage, hope, and unity. We are stronger together than apart." Elias nodded, feeling the weight of their journey and the promise of the future. Together they looked out at the stars, a silent understanding passing between them. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown dangers and opportunities, but humanity had proven that life, courage, and intelligence could create change beyond imagination. The story of the princess and the human captain would be remembered for generations, a story of courage, compassion, and the extraordinary power of one species to inspire hope in another. Where once there had been fear, now there was respect. Where uncertainty had reigned, now there was confidence. Humanity's presence in the Andromeda expanse had become a testament to what could be achieved when life was valued, and when courage met opportunity. As the night stretched on, the outpost glowed softly under the twin moons, a beacon of life, unity, and resilience. Humans and Aolari moved through the corridors together, sharing knowledge, preparing for the future, and proving that cooperation and courage were forces more powerful than any weapon. And in the quiet moments, Elias reflected on what had begun with a single courageous act: the offering of his blood to a dying princess. That choice had ignited change, built bonds, and inspired hope. Humanity had arrived in this corner of the galaxy not just as survivors, but as a symbol of possibility, proof that courage, intelligence, and compassion could shape the future. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter that night, reflecting the light within the outpost. And as humans and Aolari stood side by side, prepared for whatever the galaxy might bring, it was clear that their story was far from over. Together they were stronger, braver, and capable of changing the course of life itself.